Big news out of Imo State this week. Governor Hope Uzodimma has approved a significant raise in the minimum wage for civil servants, increasing it from 70,000 naira, or as some sources note, 76,000 naira to a new 104,000 naira per month. Yes, 104k per month. That's a jump of around 34,000 naira, easily making Imo State the highest paying sub-national government in the country right now. Now, this isn't just a number. It's a bold move that could ease financial pressure for many public workers while shaking up expectations across Nigeria. Well, welcome to Homo Politicus. Kingsley Bassey is my name. On the show today, we're discussing a move that's got everyone talking, from civil servants to market traders. It's a change that could put a little more money in the pockets of state government workers in Imo State. This big good news comes with a big question though. Will this really make life easier for workers in today's economy? Will this make life easier for children of state government workers in Imo State? Well, joining me to discuss this is political commentator and son of the soil, Prince Francis Chilaka. He joins me virtually on Homo Politicus today. Prince Francis, many thanks for joining me today.
You're welcome, Bassey.
Oh, well, some big good news from your state this week. From your point of view, is this the relief people have been waiting for? I like to think that you'd be full of praise for Governor Hope Uzodimma.
Well, if you talk about praise and whatever, I like to start from the trenches. We should be asking ourselves, 8 years down the line, going to 8 years now, what legacy is Hope Uzodimma leaving behind for Imo people? What has he been able to achieve for the Imolites? You're talking about insecurity, you're talking about poverty, you're talking about lack of infrastructure and all of that. So Hope has always been a governor that likes to make a lot of promises that he has not kept any. I remember during his campaign, he said he was going to take 4,000 youths to Europe and Americas. And we're still waiting. That has not happened. So for me, anytime Hope says something, there is always a political undertone to it. And this announcement that has been made, we're waiting to see the political undertone. And then, when you say you're raising it to 104,000, the question that a lot of people are asking, which I'm also asking, is that why were some of these governors, not willing and ready when they were negotiating with NLC on leaving the minimum wage at 150,000? So why were they skeptical? I remember at that point in time, a lot of governors said that they are not even able to pay the 35,000 minimum wage, and they were talking about 70,000. So the question is, has he consistently been paying 70,000, or is this one of his normal political talks? If he's going to pay people in Imo State 104,000, it's a welcome development. But you and I know that, the inflation in the land will actually make that money, meaningless to the people who are going to be earning it.
The economic impacts of this on workers and indeed the economy of Imo State and the country in a bit. But, I just wanted to get your thoughts in the first place, whether or not you're impressed with this. If you're going to say some words of praises for the governor, considering your criticism of the governor in the past. Well, I suppose your first comment, your opening comment, says a lot about your point of view, your standpoint on this particular matter. But let's talk about the practical impact on workers. How will this raise, this 35,000 naira raise, how do you think this would affect the everyday life for civil servants? Will it noticeably maybe ease the cost of living pinch, or do you think this would still get them struggling to keep pace with inflation? Because this is not just about Imo State, but the grand scheme of things economically in the country.
Well, Bassey, let me also ask you a question. What is the capacity in terms of employment of civil servants in Imo State? What is the statistics? Because if we keep making a very big mistake in this country. We keep talking about civil servants, civil servants. What we do not realize that civil servants don't make a larger portion of Nigerians. What happens to those in private sector? Who is taking care of them? So if you're increasing civil servants and you're saying you're bringing it up to 105, what happens to those in private sector? Well, they're all going to go to the same market. So I do not think it's something that's going to add value, because at the end of the day, the market woman will now increase her cost. Prices of things will still go up. But the important thing is that what we want, first of all, is that let the price of items come down. Since subsidy is gone, and I guess the governors are earning so much money, and then some of them don't even know what to do with the enormous revenue coming to them from federal and all of that. So a lot of them want to do some sort of Father Christmas, which is what we know politicians for. You put poverty in one hand, you pretend to be taking care of the people on the other hand. But at the end of the day, taxes are going to take back all this money that they're making available to the people. So it's not like saying, it's going to add any lease of life to them. No, because at the end of the day, the taxes are still there. The prices are still going up. So it's not about saying you're paying 150,000. It's about that 150,000. What does it translate to? How does it cushion the effect of inflation?
There's no point in this minimum wage increment then, from your point of view?
For me, it's not about the increment of minimum wage. It's about the cost of living. How much is a bag of rice? How much is a bag of garri? How much is the stable food that the ordinary Nigerians buy? So if you forget that you're living in a system where if you announce that salary has gone up by 105,000 now, the market woman believes that everybody's earning the same amount, and the price of goods are still going to go up. So it's like robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's what I see there.
Right. Well, let's proceed with some more, effects of this beyond now the states. We've been talking about Imo State, what this means for civil servants there. By the way, again, this is about civil servants there. What would this mean too for the private sector in the state? We cannot tell now. They would decide what direction they want to go. But the national minimum wage is 70,000 naira. They're not obligated by law to go beyond 70,000. I'm talking the private sector in Imo State. But let's look at this beyond the state and look at this across the country, with Imo State now leading the pack. Do you think that this could create, maybe something new, some new pressure on other state governments to raise their minimum wages? You did talk about the fact that during the negotiations sometime last year, 2024, there was a back and forth as to, we can't pay this. This is 70,000 is too much. I remember, at some point, Labour was demanding 100,000 naira, and it felt too much. They had demanded 150. It felt too much. They had said, state governors had said it was too much, and the rest. So what does this say about the balance between fiscal capacity and worker welfare and the big picture, which is the country? Could this put pressure further on other states? Should they do this? Should they proceed to emulate the state governor of Imo State?
Sense of responsibility. When the politicians want to get something from the people, they start by trying to give them something they know that will make the people not think of what the politicians want to get. Already, you know that there is this argument as to increment in the salaries of the president, the vice president, the governors, the honorable members, and the senators. So I think that this is part of the gimmick, because tomorrow you will not hear some governors will not say, since Imo is paying 104, we can afford to pay 100. This also say can afford to pay 98. So I believe that they're creating grounds for the easy passage of the the payment, the increment in the salary of the political class and their appointees. So it's not about the people. It's not about doing something, doing the people a favor. It's just part of the game. It's part of the game plan. And that's what I see playing out. So at the end of the day, they will say, oh, after all, we have increased your salaries from 70 to 104. What is wrong with increasing our own salary as well? So it's not coming from the point of fear and love for the people. No, it's coming from the point of what they too want to get out of the system.
An interesting point of view, considering that this conversation around that increment in the salaries of political office holders, that's rife at the moment. But well, let's talk about sustainability. Just picking back at the conversation or some of your comments about sustainability and the long-term implications too for civil servants in Imo State. You have talked about the legacies of Governor Hope Uzodimma, and from your point of view, you did mention to his inability to keep to promises in the past, citing the promise in his second term, in the campaign for his second term, promising to take certain number of youth, I think 4,000 thereabouts, to Europe for employment. Well, do you think, looking forward, that the state can maintain this new wage level given current revenue streams? You did mention to referencing the fact that governors are getting more money. Do you think that this might be a one-time goodwill gesture, or this could be a sustainable model others could follow as well?
Because for it to come into law, they need to take it back to the National Assembly to debate on it and then send it for assent, which they have not done. So whatever he's doing is like a great gift to the people of Imo State.
The state assembly. Yeah.
It's a great gift that he's giving to the people of Imo State. And it's like the kind of gift which I think President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave when he said subsidy is gone, and they said they were going to pay extra, is it 35,000 naira, as, to cushion the effect. But then we also know that quite a number of civil servants still claim they didn't get paid and all of that. So for me, this is not how to run a country where you just wake up and you say, oh, this is what you want to pay. There must be a standard, and that standard must be followed. Because civil servants across Nigeria, they are the same. So you cannot have disparity. As far as I'm concerned, this is nothing but politics for which Hope Uzodimma is known for.
How do you think, though, as we wrap, the pensioners could benefit from this, as well as other government-paid groups? Factoring them into this change too. I know that there's usually what is called the forgotten now the term in civil service, but that incremental change which would affect those depending on the level that one belongs to in the civil service, right? Let's talk about pensioners. How do you think this would affect them? You've talked about the politics around this a lot, but looking deeper into this and the benefits for those that truly matter, let's talk pensioners.
Pensioners in Nigeria are treated like spare parts, spare tires. They're hardly available, they're hardly used, they're hardly conducted. If you are a country where it's difficult to pay the normal pensioners their money, which they have contributed and all of that, for me, I just think that the governor of Imo State, like some other governors that are going to join in raising this bar, they're not even thinking about the pensioners. The pensioners, this is not added to pensioneering. Don't forget that most times the pensioners cry and cry and cry, and they don't get paid. I feel sorry for a lot of pensioners, but I think that for me, I believe that this is, like I would say, is a Greek gift. It's just political stunt which the governor is pulling, But if it's good, if it is something that will last, it's a good one. But it does not take care of inflation. Inflation is still there. So my worry is the fact that now that you are paying 100 or something, the price of goods will go up. What happens to those who are not in that sector? Those who are not captured within the civil service? that will be going to the same market with the civil service civil servants that you have increased their pay. So it's neither here nor there. And, things like this don't work until it becomes legislated upon. And then in every legislation they want to do regarding salaries and emoluments, they must consider people in the private sector and know how to cushion the effect.
Big news out of Imo State this week, and it's not just Imo State. Just 24 hours after Governor Hope Uzodimma announced a 34,000 naira increase in the minimum wage in the state. Well, the Ebonyi State governor took the challenge too, and he followed suit, topping that of workers in the state with 20,000 naira across board. But that's for Ebonyi State. Just revisiting Imo State, the governor did say too that the minimum wage of medical doctors rose from 215,000 naira to 503,000 naira, while that of teachers in tertiary institutions went from 119,000 naira to 222,000 naira. As we wrap the conversation, Prince Francis Chilaka, you might want to say this is some good news, maybe, especially for teachers and medical doctors. We've complained, lots of Nigerians have complained in recent times about brain drain, especially for medical doctors or medical practitioners in the country who continue to get wooed by several countries, United States, United Kingdom, and of course for teachers who many have said to are not well paid. With this increment in Imo State, do you feel satisfied to in some way and fulfilled for them?
Well, for me, the question I always want to ask as well is it sustainable? If it's going to be sustainable, why don't the governors and the Nigerian Labour Congress have an agreement, take this to for legislation? So we know that, it's either 100, it's either 90, it's either 150. This idea of disparaging, selective increase, there is no law backing it. We need to know that. So tomorrow, the governor may wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I am having, my revenue is shrinking, and he removes it. But what do the people do? I believe in due process, and I believe that the due process is whatever figure that the governors now believe they can pay, let them take it for legislation. Then we will now know that it has become an officially national wage.
State governors have the right to determine beyond the benchmark, the national benchmark, if they want to go higher, by what percentage they would like to. They just need to sort, the state government needs to sort that with the House of Assembly, and that's sorted. We saw that even before the federal government last year, 2024, increased the minimum wage to 70,000 naira. We saw the former governor, but those they do same. He started paying 70,000 naira. So that I like to believe that state governors can decide as long as they don't go below the national benchmark, which is 70,000 naira. But of course, that's a conversation that is developing, and would continue to have that conversation. I'd like to get your final thought in just some 30-60 seconds. Prince Francis Chilaka, as we wrap the conversation today. Your final thought.
My final is I'm happy. Uzodimma has deemed it fit at this time to increase the wages of civil servants. It's a good one, but I hope he will also take steps to ensure that this increment is not taken from one side and given from one side. The issue of hunger, the issue of poverty, the issue of lack of employment, the things that will sustain this 104,000, that will make it last in the hands of the people, are things he should look into. Insecurity, he needs to look into it to ensure that the people carry out their businesses without fear or favor. If you don't do all of this, no matter how much you increase the salary of the workers, something will always take it away from them.
Of the soil, dare say, I'd like to thank you so much for being a part of the conversation on Homo Politicus today. We've been talking about the minimum wage increase for civil servant in Imo State, and well, best wishes to the good people Imo State as you go through, as they go through this development. Prince Francis Chilaka, many thanks again for being here.
You're welcome, Bassey.
Appreciate that. Well, whether you're watching from the capital of Imo State or you're watching from any part of the country or outside the country, like it, stop by the comment section and let me know what you think of this increment. 34,000 naira increment in the minimum wage for state government workers in Imo State. It's been Homo Politicus today. Kingsley Bassey is my name. Until next time, I say may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.